Anybody have any questions? Talk in the microphone so that way people can get it on.
Okay, thank you. So not only do we have to deal with the latitude in Vermont, but it's also cloudy a lot. So how does that affect our morning routine?
It's a great question. Let me finish up with her. Clouds, when it's clouds like this, you still get 31% of the light through. So the answer is it's still there. Here's the question. Number one thing in mitochondriac, what I teach people, tell me what your haplotype is, what your SNPs are, and I'll tell you if Vermont's doable for you. Because guess what? It's tied to your latitude. Well, it's simple to do. It now costs $69 to get that information. 23andMe. All you need to know is your haplotype. I need to know what your 677, 1298, your VDR receptor, your CBS. That's it. You put that on my form and I'll tell you exactly what you're optimized to. Well, that's good. I'm Swedish and Irish too, but you know what the key is? If you have any mitochondrial diseases and you're trying to reverse them, Vermont may not be your place, but guess what? If you don't, I told you, I was able to fix my obesity with a simple, and I stayed at the same latitude at the time. I was at Nashville when I did it. But why did I relocate further south? Because I was trying to fix my wife and my daughter. And you see, 5 years. 677, 1298. Just so you guys know, these are all tied to the COMT gene and also dopamine and melatonin. That's the reason why they're all important. Because you know, you hear all this BS from the functional medicine docs about methylation. Guess what? How you get methylation right? Sunlight. Surprise. Nathan. All right, good.
So I need some cataract surgery, so what am I going to tell an ophthalmologist?
I got 2 members going through this right now. You're in a tough spot. So one of the people is going to have custom lenses made in Germany and going to have them implanted. The ophthalmologist was okay with it. So I would tell you the key with lens repair, and this is where the Japanese ophthalmologists that I told you I spoke to, they're way ahead of us. Right now, the standard lenses in the United States all block UV. That means both A and B, and they block 50% of the blue. So what I would, I don't recommend these things because I'm not an eye doctor, but if I had to have the surgery, I would have no lens with no UV protection at all, and I would only block about 10% of the blue. The reason why, I think it's easier to block the blue with glasses, you know, at night, and it's just one of the things you have to do. But the key thing is the UVA that gets through, that 3% that gets through that I showed you how incredibly important it is for melatonin. Now, I will tell you some good news. I've got some biohackers on my forum who have had cataract surgery, and one of the things that I found, it took me a while to figure it out, that you still get UV light assimilation through your sclera of your eyes. So if you actually do a lot of sun gazing, and how I do sun gazing is different than everybody else. I don't look directly at the sun, about 15 degrees off angle, but I'll sit there 15 or 20 minutes. It actually helps. Here's the other key thing, and Ruben's probably gonna kill me when I say this, but I've got a couple ongoing hacks with people with your problem. We're using the Quantlet, because what the Quantlet does, it puts photobiomodulation, red light through your artery. Remember I told you the picture in there about regenerating the photoreceptors? I have found that if you absorb more infrared A light, you can absorb more UV light. So when you have a problem like this, it becomes a very interesting situation. Now the problem is, this is like at the edge of science. And that's what a mitochondriac or a biohacker is all about. We hack these things. Ruben hates when I talk about these things. So I would tell you, hybrid tanning is a way, and the best way to do it, Alexander Wunsch, and I'm gonna put Ruben on this. Ruben's got a good friend, and he sits on our board of Quantum Dynamics. James Carroll, he makes Thor Industry beds. These are basically like tanning beds that are nothing but red light. They give photobiomodulation. If you can find a practitioner, or say as a community here in Vermont, that you could get a booth up here, because they cost about 40 grand. But if you guys go and pay like 100 or 200 bucks a pop, then when you go outside, if you have a poor light environment, which you guys do have here, when it's present, you'll absorb even more. So that is a way to biohack Vermont, okay? I think it's a great idea, and I hope somebody in the audience says, shit, why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we pool our money together and buy a unit, maybe talk to Tree, maybe Tree can keep it here at the farm and everybody can come here and get their 15 minutes, do it 3 times a week? Why not? I mean, let's face it, it's a farm and we're animals. The problem is most of the people in this room are zoo animals. I'm trying to turn you back into being a real animal. And I think that's something that Western A. Price actually would be behind too. All right.
Hours of daylight.
Same thing with her question. I need to know data. If I don't know the data. See, remember what I showed you in Wallace's video with the geography? Your mitochondrial haplotype is tied to your latitude. That's why mitochondrial changed. Why? Because when you live at the equator, you're L0, meaning you don't have to uncouple at all. Because you need all your energy to run away from things. The further you are away, that's when you start to have more problems. And guess what? Most people in the United States come from Northern European ancestry, so we all uncouple. But one of the things that I do want to tell you, because a lot of people have talked about it today, but I want to tell you the real reason it works. CT, you heard Ruben say, is a magnetic effect, and it is because it affects water. But I'm going to tell you the number one effect that nobody ever talks about. Cold stress and heat stress release a protein in you called HSP70. HSP70 is called heat shock protein 70. And you know what it does? Its main function? It keeps the 3D architecture of proteins perfect. Remember the slide I showed you about McKissick's lecture about how light hits the protein and makes a wave, it makes a soliton? Well, the reason why cold also really works, it keeps your proteins that are misfolded or bent, which is all the neurodegenerative disorders, in better shape. So CT from neurodegenerative disorders, huge. So if you want to keep this a human brain instead of a chimpanzee brain, CT, and this is something that everybody in Vermont can do, because Lake Champlain is cold as shit. And just so you know, the target temperature is between 50 and 55 degrees, and I personally think it's okay. And if you saw the slide that I showed for Nathan and Matt, that superior cervical connector, when that goes there, that sends a signal straight to your brain. You can really change and affect the proteins in your body so that when you get little UV, like we talked about, even if it's 31%, it's still helping you, because guess what? These proteins are optimized to absorb every last little bit of light if you're there. And that's why Ruben told you guys, if you wear glasses and you're outside, this is what I do. When I'm walking on the streets in New York, the glasses down. When I need to see, I go like that. That's how I do it. You need that stimulus through your eye. Your eye is the key to your kingdom.
What about protecting the eye from the sun? I mean, all my life I've been outside in the snow and sailing and lots of reflection. Can't the eye be damaged without protection?
Absolutely. You heard what Ruben said. If you go on the equator for 12 hours a day and you're an Irish dude from Sweden, yeah. But what did I just tell you earlier? The more infrared A light you get, it protects you from UV damage. Remember the slide that I showed you about histidine and the uricanic acid? It actually works. The IRA light protects you from UV, but I still agree with you. If you have an albedo effect from the snow, there is a limit to too much. But here's the problem. We live in a world where it's too little. So do I want to spend a lot of time telling you about too much? If I was given this Western A. Price talk in Ecuador, okay, then we need to talk. You're in Vermont. I think it's impossible. Even with snow from the albedo effect, I don't think you can get enough. Why? Because you're now a zoo animal that lives in a non-native EMF blue lit world. Your world is lit up by an alien sun. And you have to realize that technology brings us inside, not outside. And that is the key. Just think about it. There's a lot of older people here that probably have kids. I want you to think about when you and I were kids, what do? We went outside, we rode our bikes, we played baseball. What do the kids do now? They're inside texting, playing video games. And I told you, that's 5,750 Kelvin light. That is blue light destroying DHA, ruining the eye clock, ruining their retina. And you want to know why these people are getting diabetes at 40, at 30? And it's already been shown. Type 1 and type 2 diabetes are exacerbated by blue light. Guess who told you that in my talk? Fritz Holwich, when he took the damn cataracts out, their energy went up. What do diabetics always get? Cataracts. Now you know why. Because they're lacking sunlight and they get too much blue. And I personally believe diabetes isn't a disease of carbohydrates, it's a blue light toxic disease. That's what I believe. Anybody else has a question, come up here so I can give you the microphone because we need the...
What is the benefit of moving mitochondrial proteins closer together?
Oh, the benefit? That's a quantum mechanical answer. It's very simple. The closer two things are together, like closer two protons together, for example, if you believe the fusion model in the sun, which I will tell you I don't, anytime the protons come closer together, it makes energy transfer much easier. So the respiratory proteins need to come closer together to transfer electrons, because what is the electron transport train functionally do? It ferries electrons from cytochrome 1 all the way to the ATPase, eventually to oxygen. And oxygen accepts that terminal electron. When it gets to oxygen, it's at its ground state. When it comes in cytochrome 1, and I didn't get into all these details, but cytochrome 1 is the NAD positive NADH couple. It is a fluorophore protein that absorbs 340 nanometer light. So if you want to know why electrons from carbohydrates always enter at cytochrome 1, now you know why, because carbohydrates grow when? Long light cycles, when what kind of light's out? Purple light. So if you live in Vermont and you eat a banana on December 31st, as I famously said at a big paleo conference, you're a freaking idiot. Now you know why, because what does it do? It spreads the respiratory proteins out when you do that. When you're not getting the stimulus of what through your eye when you do it? UVA light, because it's not present in Vermont on December 31st. Got it? That is how food electrons are affected by light stimulus through your eye and your skin. That's the circadian mismatch. That's what, everything that programs your mitochondria to work is sunlight. And that's what we're missing in the food world. And I don't have anything against food gurus. I really, truly don't. They don't understand how mitochondria work. That's the problem. And guess what? Everybody knows, there's not an argument from anybody that mitochondria are the key. They make all the energy in the cell. But the problem is when you don't understand the process in detail, this is why you always hear me say on my site, a half-truth always leads to a full lie. That's the reason why you have guys out there like Jimmy Moore who keep, using social media, and he keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he advocates ketosis for everybody. Is it working? What's he missing? When you're designed to be ketotic, remember the picture that I showed you of the 4 guys eating? The last guy was skinny because he had no food in front of him. What was he in front of? The sun. What does that tell you about a guy that's always on social media tweeting and twatting and everything else? That's the problem. What did I tell you about me? My job. My job is a killer. As a neurosurgeon, I know that that's got to change. My big biohack of 2017, my members know what it is. I'm not going to share it on video, but it's tied to this issue. It's tied to this very issue. I hold myself to the same standards as everybody else. I know that it is killing me, and I've got to stop doing those things. But the key is, why do I persist? Why do I come out here? What I told you today, I figured out 12 years ago. I put this information on the internet for free. It's been on my site for 7 years. When I first put it out there, everybody said, oh, it's too hard. Nobody will understand it. Well, guess what? We're 7 years down the road. I got over 1 million people that follow me every month. And now food people are inviting me to come talk to them about light. So don't tell me shit can't change. Because you know what? If you're a true citizen scientist, you follow the data and not your beliefs. I know what the beliefs of Western A. Price are right now. They're not the same beliefs that I think that he had back in the day. Why? I think if he would have known about light, he'd be in a mitochondriac too.
A different subject. What type of light bulbs would you say would be the best, since we live in a world where our spouses won't let you turn off all the lights?
None. I told you what I did to my wife. It took her a while, but if you're going to use a light, I think Ruben's idea of probably a red light, and it takes a while for you to get used to it, or you can use an incandescent. I will tell you to this day, the only fight that I ever have with my wife now is about light bulbs. And literally, I turn them all off. And I'm not kidding when I tell you, remember Ruben left? I don't know what the guy's name was in the movie, Millman. Remember when he said, you have to pay attention to every single thing you do. And the guy was talking about the sweatshirt coming off and everybody laughed. I didn't laugh because you know what? That's exactly how I'd answer your question. When you put that damn light switch on every day, you just took your respiratory proteins and done that. You know that when people come to see me with gliomas in their brain, they will spend $100,000 to live 6 extra weeks, but you think it's okay to put the light switch on and cause the same problem. That is the mindset you have to get to. So when your husband says that to you, you know what you tell him? What I said in the movie, read between the lines.
Well, how do you get around that? You go into surgery,
Yeah.
and so you're exposed to light.
No, I am, but what do? I do extraordinary things to offset my risk. So in other words, when people come talk to me, like my members, you got a couple of them sitting here, I would tell you, find a member who's actually been with me, like Josh and Sarah have been with me to Mexico. Why do I go to Mexico? I live in the 28th latitude. I've been to Mexico 4 times this year. So if you live here at the 50th latitude, you got a problem. And you don't realize it. And then you keep wanting to turn the damn lights on? You see what I'm saying from my perspective? How crazy that is? But think about what I said in the movie. The answer is right in front of you, and why don't you see it? Because you don't make any dopamine. I'm not kidding you. I'm being dead serious. When the dopamine levels go low, when you're faced with the answer, you're like, wait a minute. What did Ruben say? Everybody who's a biohacker wants a shortcut. You think that you can shortcut light? If you say yes, you're not part of my tribe. And I'm being honest with you. But what I'm trying to say is I want you to understand that light is fundamental. Not only is it fundamental to you and me, but it's fundamental to the food web. That was the talk from last year. If you didn't hear it, go YouTube it, because everything about food is tied to light too. All those electrons that food become are excited by light frequencies, and your mitochondria is the Rosetta Stone that deciphers that signal. And I didn't get into all those details. I gave you the surface skim. There's a lot more to this story.
Hi, just curious, from like going back to John Ott's book where he talks about the purple light and in that particular bar, does purple light straight up, does that disrupt circadian rhythm? Because I know that red kind of can.
Here, give me that. Let me answer this one first. This is a good question. For those of you who haven't read Ott's book, there's a part of the book, I forget the name of it, it was a restaurant in Chicago where he did a very interesting biohack. The thing was something about, the name of the restaurant was something seafood under the sea or something, but it was, what was it? Star of the Sea. And it was in a famous hotel in Chicago, and their shtick was they had fluorescent menus. And the only way you could see the menus, he had black lights. So here was the funny thing. Ott loved this place. He didn't know why. So he went and talked to the maitre d'. He found out that the restaurant was open for 25 years and not one person ever had a sick day. Not one. And Ott said the craziest thing, when I went to this restaurant, every time I went to Chicago, I always wanted to go back. You know why? What I just told you, dopamine. Because when you have and you're around UV light, you become euphoric. Why? Because you release what? Beta endorphin. What else? Your blood pressure goes down because UVA light, nitric oxide. It's a natural calcium channel blocker. This is what people don't get. So to answer your question, so far, and trust me, I've been hacking this because this is a great question. I have told my members that in 12 years, I have not found a biologic toll yet to UVA light at night. And I'm concerned because neuropsin is on our skin and in our eye. But if you come to my house right now, underneath where my daughter does her homework, even when it's dark, UVA light, and an incandescent. That's the only light that's allowed on in my house in December when she's doing her homework. I'll tell you how serious this is. My daughter had her Sweet 16 this December. She wanted to have the party at night. I said, fine, you can do it, but I have to be in control of the venue and everything else. So my wife goes, what the hell are you going to do? So she invites literally half the high school. I have an event hall just like this. I changed all the light bulbs out to UVA lights, and we made it a fluorescent thing. They had fluorescent balloons. You want to know the crazy thing that my daughter learned? Every single kid came back and told Callie they slept better that night. How do you like that? So that made a huge impact on her friends, because then Callie explained to these 16-year-olds, look, this is how actually it works. My dad can actually teach this. So what started happening? Kids I would have never talked to, they start coming over and they start to see me outside. I'm at Kinnicky, and they're like, tell us about this. So they're learning, and now they all have their screens on their phone. They're actually starting to pay attention. Why? You go and ask the kids, like if Maddie was here, he's left, he will tell you, and Maddie, am I lying that all your friends in high school, they can't sleep?
Yeah, most people are tired all the time. It's the number one complaint.
And this is from a kid that's in high school now. He's one of my members. I've got tons of them now. I never thought in a million years, 7 years ago when I started putting this information on the internet, that kids, when he showed up to Mexico sight unseen to hang out with me, I was like, this has got to be resonating with people. And you know the crazy thing? It's resonating with his generation more than the old farts. Because the old farts are too set in their ways to take their clothes off and go outside. Let me tell you something. The hardest thing for me to do is, I'm just telling, well, remember, this is Vermont. You need to come down south where the ladies won't go outside without their makeup on that has UV protection in it. And I'm just telling you, it is a huge problem in the South, and that's why people always ask me, why is the stroke belt and the heart attack belt in the South? It's very simple with this story, and I'll explain it to you. When it's hot outside, what do Southerners do? They go inside to air conditioning where there's no sun. What happens in the wintertime? When it goes below 50, they look like they're dressed for the tundra. So what did Reuben say? Humans never face a real winter. And it's the truth. And they never face a true summer anymore. I mean, you guys up here, you have to realize, different zip codes lead to different problems. And the reason why is because the light frequencies here are different than the light frequencies in other places. And it's not just a latitude issue. I don't want you to think it is a latitude issue, because you can change your quantum yield by the clothes you wear, by the makeup you put on, by the sunglasses you wear, whether your contacts are polarized or not. And I didn't even get into all the polarization effects, how it changes the electromagnetic wave as it spins towards your retina, because it has an effect too. And that's called the Faraday effect. It's an optical magnetic effect. Trust me, girl, there's a lot of fat on this bone. People don't realize how incredibly complex light is. And until you realize it, you really will find this hard to believe.
Before you mention the type of daytime blue blocking glasses you wear, what are they called?
The lenses I have on now are Blue Tech lenses with a Blue Tech. And they have a BPI tint. If you talk to talk to Josh, or he can tell you exactly what the glasses are. You can buy them cheap. The cheapest ones you can get are on Amazon. They're Uvex glasses. They cost 10 to 15 bucks. They're plastic. They look like those old cataract glasses. They go over your glasses if you wear glasses, or you can buy the ones that Dave bought for you guys. It's not a big deal. I have these exact same glasses, same frame, except they're clear lenses. Those are the ones I wear when I'm working on the computer.
Are they also called the BPI tint?
No, this is the BPI tint. Those are called Blue Tech without.